Okay, aside from the last 30 seconds, this episode was pretty much perfect. I love the show keeps getting better and better and better with every episode. This is my favorite episode so far. And nothing much happens, well, really, like in terms of long-term consequences, I don't think. But it was fucking... I'll get into it. Okay, so this is College, episode 5. And in this one, Tony's away. Tony and Meadow are away the whole episode. They're up in Maine, up in New England, looking at colleges because she's a junior and she's going to go to college soon. And the opening scene was them driving, and she asks him straight up, "You in the Mafia?" And he's like, "What Mafia? There is no Mafia," which made me laugh. And then he kind of comes clean and tells her a little bit. And it was just a really adult, really well-written conversation, and I love that that's how it started. And then back home, back in Jersey, Carmela's sick, and she's in the house by herself, and she sends Anthony next door to go play. I guess because she doesn't want to infect him, or because she can just tell he's bored, and she's lonely and sad. And then her friend of hers, a priest, shows up, and they just kind of hang out all night, and talk, and they drink wine, and he feeds her food. Or she feeds him, sorry. She feeds him like leftover ziti, because that's what he likes, and they talk about Jesus, and they talk about Scorsese. A lot of Scorsese in this one. You got Last Temptation of Christ, you got a Taxi Driver reference, you got a Casino reference where Tony's asking his daughter, like, what do the kids at school think about the fact that I'm a gangster? And she says, they think it's pretty cool. I mean, you know, you're a gangster. And he says, yeah, Godfather, right? And she's like, nah, they like Casino with the 70s and the pills and Sharon Stone. And he's like, I don't care what they think. Which clearly he's just pissed, you know, he wants to know what she thinks. But I'd like to think a little bit it is that he doesn't like Casino nearly as much as Goodfellas. So yeah, a lot of movie references in this one. And anyway, so half the story is Tony and Meadow out in New England talking about college. And while they're out there, he sees a guy that he might recognize. And it turns out this guy flipped. He went informant, got a lot of people in their crew sent to prison, and apparently it kind of killed his dad because Tony's dad was sick. And when he found out that one of his guys, you know, flipped, went turncoat, he never recovered. So amidst all this going to visit college stuff and Meadow becoming a woman and lots of great scenes where Tony's just really proud of his daughter, he's got to decide, does he want to kill this guy? Does he want to report this? Does he want to report it back home and have his soldier come out and do it, Christopher, who was just stuck in the rain the whole episode? And once again, he is amazing. I love that actor so much. So yeah, we got essentially just this two stories going on, and it's incredibly well written. And it's a really well structured episode. Like, they don't linger too long on the priest and Carmela talking. It's just enough that when they cut away back to Tony, I'm like, oh, I'm ready to go back to Tony again. Same thing, there's lots of scenes with Tony in this one with no dialogue, where he's just quietly kind of looking around the town and doing research into the guy. Is this really the rat? It's just incredibly well done. What else we got going on? The blue skies come back, which I'm happy about. I love the blue skies. So yeah, the murder. Tony does decide to kill the rat. It is the rat. And Tony kills him in broad daylight with what looked like a car cable, like it's like a, you know, it's not a garrote. It's not a piano wire like Luca Brasi, but he does strangle him with this car wire in broad daylight, and the angle is like pointing, like they're on the ground, the angle points straight up, and you got this bright blue sky behind him. So I was glad to see that. It was nice to see Tony kill a guy, because, you know, whenever there's a mob show, you always wonder, particularly like a mob family thing, you always wonder how deep into it are they, how bad are they willing to get. And I like that Tony is a killer. I mean, I don't like that he's a killer, it's always a bummer, but it makes the show more compelling that he's a killer. And the title is one of the more, like, on-the-nose, literal and metaphorical titles, but I like that. You know, it's college. She's going to visit college, but it's also her education. You know, she gets drunk with some girls that are also going to that college, and obviously she learns that her dad is, she knows for sure now, confirms that her dad is in the mob, and she knows something happened with that guy that her dad saw, because he's got, you know, mud on his shoes, his hand is bleeding because the wire cut into it. And so yeah, that story worked really well, and I'm almost more interested in the other story, which is just Carmela and the priest talking, because it's incredible dialogue, and I love Edie Valco, and she hasn't had a chance to shine yet. And I feel like this was her, like, the writers were like, we're going to give you an episode to be brilliant. She plays a lot of different notes. She has to play sick, she has to play motherly, she has to play, like, jealous and sad because she finds out that Tony's therapist is a woman. She has to play, you know, loneliness. She has to play hopeful and romantic because her and the priest have a bit of a thing. They're very good friends, and there's a sequence where he gives her communion, you know, the wafer and the wine, and it's extremely sexualized in the way it's shot. You know, she's on her knees and he's standing, and the framing is clearly like she's about to give him a blowjob, and I really like how weird and kind of like sacrilegious the idea of the sacrament is in this episode. I like the fact that it's kind of sexualized. It was just, I've never seen that before, and I liked it. It was done, it wasn't over the top, it wasn't overwrought, it was just very subtly there. She just played friendship. So yeah, I mean, Edie Valco was brilliant in this episode. So yeah, it's all around just a really, really, really good episode. I can't wait for the next one. Obviously, the next one's probably going to be, I'd assume the next one's probably going to have a lot more action and mobster stuff in it, because this one was a very, very slow, small story in a weird way. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say on this one. One more thing on the visuals. I love the way this one's shot. When the priest comes in the house, there's this very long, almost West Wing-like Steadicam shot where he comes in and the camera kind of 360s around the two of them talking, and nice long takes, and really, you know, sets up the space. There's a lot of like stalking or tension-filled sequences in the other story where Tony is tracking the guy down, because the other guy, the rat, recognizes Tony as well, and he decides that he wants to go kind of track Tony down, and maybe he's going to kill Tony. And there's a sequence where he actually has Tony in his sights. He can kill Tony and get away with it. And it's really, really tension-filled, and that part of the story is kind of like The Departed, like who's going to get who first kind of deal. So I love the visuals in this one, and there's one shot in particular where Carmela calls Tony late at night because the priest and her almost kiss, and then he's too drunk, and he goes to throw up, and she starts to feel guilty, so she just kind of calls Tony and decides not to say anything and hangs up, which is brilliant writing because clearly she wouldn't want to say anything. But it also makes Tony more suspicious and nervous because he just got a call randomly late at night with no answer. And then this guy that he saw him, and that was a wonderful moment. I love it when episodes of television, or TV, movies, whatever, can use one moment and have it mean like 3 or 4 different things to different characters, and it all makes sense. So that phone call moment was great. But anyway, after she hangs up the phone and doesn't say anything to Tony, she's just kind of sitting there in the kitchen, lonely, and then it fades to a wider shot, same angle, down the hallway, and you can see the house around her, and it's incredibly well lit, it's really lonely, it's incredibly evocative, it's one of those images that could be a painting. So yeah, they're really stepping their game up on this one. Excellent episode, and I can't wait for the next one, which I don't remember the title of. So, see you next time, and I may as well address the elephant in the room for anyone who's becoming a viewer, and if you are, thank you, I'm glad to see these are getting views. I didn't post an episode yesterday. I was recovering from being awake for like 36 hours, and I just... Yesterday I kind of spent the whole day sleeping, and so this one's being posted at like 4 or 5 in the morning, and it's going to count as my Wednesday vlog, and I'll have another one up later today. So, shit, I fucked up. I couldn't even stick to my promise for a week and get one video a day, but I'll promise to try not to make that happen anymore. So, yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. TTFN.